13.
Damn it, it did it again! I guess 5 doesn't exist in the Beyond Ringside universe. Yes, I am. I figure, what the hell, I might as well start complaining live right from the get-go. The Beyond Ringside universe hereby no longer recognizes the number 5 on their countdown.
Bill Flarn, Phil. Greetings, good evening. How the hell are you? As you can tell, there went the mushroom cloud from somewhere over Idaho.
Poof.
On the Beyond Ringside Radio Network, ProWrestlingRadio.net, and of course the Beyond Ringside channel on TuneIn and the TuneIn mobile app. Welcome to Beyond Ringside Live, the Shooters Gallery edition. Multiple location station in play. Yours truly from the ever-evolving sauna, the Beyond Ringside Studios in beautiful Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome to, as Shane Knowles would say, Satan's armpit, and we are waiting to find out where he is hiding right now. He's in an undisclosed location. Welcoming in tag team partner, the voice, the scribe, also the head of the Pro Wrestle Review channel over on Twitch, Ted Guinness.
It's a good thing I have fans blowing in the studio, because I'm eating homemade chili, and at the end of the show, it's gonna stink.
And somehow or another, things are starting to short out over here as well. So we're flying by the seat of our pants this week. First off, thank you to everybody who listened live last night to the Back to Basics edition of Beyond Ringside Live. Yours truly, Mark Bowman and Phil Stamper. And it's been a topsy-turvy 24 hours where it's getting even crazier. But before I go any further, Ted Guinness, lock and load your opening round.
Well, after weeks and weeks of speculation, thank God we finally have baseball back. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred finally has instituted a schedule. Teams are expected to report to their home stadiums July 1st. Opening day expected to be somewhere between July 23rd and July 24th. That's a very small window, so you could go to Vegas and have pretty good odds on which day is actually going to be opening day. 60-game schedule, no expanded playoffs, full prorated salary, which is what the MLBPA was promised back in March 26 when the league shut down. So, we'll dissect all the details of that later. But thank God baseball's back. We're going to finally get back to some semblance of normalcy.
I don't like that N word. Normalcy in this era right now can be subject to change without notice. Now, I want to ask you this one because I've been thinking about this one, and with a number of players testing positive already, as well as those in the NFL, the NHL, and the NBA, what point do you get to? Because okay, for those who listened last night, replay. For those who didn't listen last night, check this one out. You know that I've been monitoring the NBA situation about who is and who is not going to commit to play. It's being left open. And the way that my perspective falls on this one is very clear. I respect the fact they're going to try to create the bubble. However, there's flaws in the bubble. The biggest one being that the staff of the primary hotel that they're going to be using for the bubble, the staff can come and go. Bubble not intact. Bubble, wrong answer. Because as long as you have one person going in and out that is not committed to staying in that scenario, then you open the door. Now, Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, MLS, none of them, other than the NBA, have made any kind of reference to securing a location and bubbling everything. I know it's going to be damn hard for the NFL because of the number of players involved. Baseball, how many people are on the top tier roster now, Ted?
It is going to be a pool of 60. 30 to start the season, 30 to start the season on the Major League roster. Then after 2 weeks, pairs down to 28, then pairs down to 26. But it's going to be the traditional 40-man roster with a 20-man taxi squad. So removal from, or going on the deal, or removal from the active 40-man roster is not necessarily going to be disqualifying. Because they can be moved down to the taxi squad and shifted around. That's as a precaution for, someone getting either on the 10-day injured list or a COVID diagnosis. So, I mean, they've expanded the player pool, and they've expanded, at least for the first month of the season, the amount of players that can be on the bench. But they've also taken other security precautions or laid those out to where players that are in the game will be able to sit in the dugout. So you're looking at 9 players at any one time, plus manager, plus batting coach, plus pitching coach, plus your first base coach, third base coach, if they're not all consolidated. So you're looking at maybe 15 people in a very large dugout. And then anybody else, the bullpen people are probably still going to be in the bullpen, but they'll be doing their social distancing. But the reserves that are on the roster, they'll be sitting up in the stands, observing the social distancing. Major League Baseball has said that it's up to the teams whether they want to allow fans or not to attend these games, and it's up to the teams to figure out how they're going to let those fans in accordance with the social media guidelines and everything. Cities like San Francisco, Oakland, Seattle, Los Angeles, New York, probably not going to have fans. Chicago, Miami, you can throw those on the list. Probably where you're going to get the most fans is going to be in the central divisions, and even some of the more centralized Western Division teams like the Astros, the Rangers, the Rockies, and then you get into St. Louis. I don't know what the Missouri outbreak rate is there, but being right in the middle of the country, although they are a huge transit hub, so I would expect a spike there. But yeah, I think some of the smaller market teams, Kansas City, you're going to see some fans in attendance. And we talked about this about a month ago, I think, where we came up with the idea that you close off every, first row, you do two, 3 people in a group, 4 people in a group. You block off the next 4 seats, and then you stagger them that way, and then you block off the 2 rows behind them, and you're doing first row, 4th row, 7th row. And you can still get a decent amount of fans without a lot of exposure. Really, where I think the risk comes in for fan exposure is concessionary and restroom facilities. So you're also going to have ballpark staff that are going to have to manage that. So I mean that's where I think where the danger comes in for the fans at this point. But those things have been talked about, and they're being bandied about, and I'm sure that getting the base deal was the most important thing, and now you can go back and start fine-tuning all the logistical things. Obviously, right. We haven't seen the team-by-team schedule yet. It's going to be 60 games, 40 games against division opponents, 20 games against the American League counterparts in that division. So National League West, American League West, National League Central, American League Central, so on and so forth. And then playoffs are going to be determined. So I think that at least we have the baseline of an idea. We know when the players are going to get there. I think we're going to start hearing a lot more of the logistics as they get nailed down. They probably don't want to release a whole bunch of things out there that, hey, we're talking about this, which not only getting out on social media will cloud the issue, but they want to make sure that they have everything set so that there's no real issue where, well, what about this? This is the way it's going to be for the 2020 season. And then everything else, when the season's over and you start getting into the collective bargaining agreement again, that's when you go over all the other stuff, and we'll have a better idea of what COVID's going to do come wintertime next season. Late fall, early winter, if it's going to flare back up and we're going to see pandemic level numbers again, or if it turns out that after a year of research, it may not be as deadly as people thought because of certain conditions. It's more, there are people in a higher risk group, like a lot of different viruses. I mean, there's still a lot of questions that we don't have answers to. And again, once we get those answers, that'll generate probably a lot more questions. But there's a lot of unknowns. So anybody that is trying to approach this with a long-term vision and a long-term solution, as far as the baseball season goes, I don't think it's reasonable. I think you have to play it on the short-term basis, figure it out, get through this season if we can, and then we'll address the larger issues as it pertains to health and safety of the fans, players, as baseball goes on, if it goes on, if they can stop squabbling about money long enough during the collective bargaining agreement and actually work together to figure something out for the sake of their sport.
Did baseball dodge the biggest bullet it has ever faced by actually getting this done?
Yeah, they basically were the small version of Super Mario facing Bullet Bill, coming straight at him, and baseball was able to jump over and land on top and get to 200 points and move on towards spring training 2.0. But yeah, if Manfred had actually gone ahead and canceled the season, funeral arrangements for Major League Baseball would have been arranged rather quickly, because that would have been the end of it.
Well, I knew that Manfred was not going to let the season go away, because remember, he did have an ace in the hole, but so did the PA. And if Manfred because if they had not signed, the Players Association had not signed off on this, Manfred could have still said, I'm the commissioner, here's what we're going to do. Now, granted, the MLBPA did have that nice little grievance clause it could have whipped out. But in this particular circumstance, if the PA would have said no, Manfred plays the ace, the MLBPA turns around and says, we're filing a grievance, that would do just as much to kill baseball as to not sign the original agreement to begin with, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a doubt, that would basically be the equivalent of injecting yourself with a lethal dose of anything. Let's figure out the most stupid way possible to kill ourselves, and then tell our friends to hold our beer. That's what it would have been. So, thankfully, cooler heads prevailed, and we're getting something.
Well, the knock on a lot of baseball over the last few years is, and this is something that the fans have been discussing, because I read the message boards every once in a while, I read the forums, and when these monster effing salaries are announced, a ton of fans, and I do mean a metric fecal ton of fans, will actually talk about, it's like, why are they making this much money to play a kid's game? But yet a lot of people also go right back out and pay that much money for season tickets.
Well, that's why they make the money. Because they're in a business that primary goal is to generate revenue, and they generate a crap ton of revenue through merchandising licensing, through television rights, through ticket sales, through concession sales, through parking sales, through every possible conceived method that you can get money from. That's what their primary goal is. And the people that are the most responsible for driving revenue to those teams are the ones that are making the 15, 20, 25, 35 million dollar a year contracts, because they are doing something at an elite level that 0.0001% of the population can do. 2, they're doing it better than that small percentage can do it. And 3, they're one of the big reasons why people are coming out and spending an exorbitant amount of money, because remember back in the day, they wanted to go watch Pedro pitch. Pedro's on the mound. Oh, we got to go see it. Bonds is on his tear for, whatever home run record he was chasing at that time. Got to go see Bonds. McGuire, Sosa, Clemens, Schilling, Randy Johnson, John Smoltz, Chipper Jones. The list goes on. Superstar after superstar. The money gets bigger in the contracts because the revenue gets bigger. The economy gets bigger. It's simple economics. Most people don't have the patience to understand that. Now, on the other end of that coin, if you really want to know how much these players are making, MLBTradeRumors.com has been going through and actually putting up spreadsheets of teams' commitments through, I believe, 2025 or 2026 for different teams. And you can see some of these superstar athletes that are signed for 5 or 6 more years making 18, 21, 24 million dollars a year. You can see when their contracts are dropping off. And you look at that total number down in the bottom right-hand corner of that spreadsheet, and it's a ridiculous amount. It's 500, 600 some odd million dollars that's invested over 5 or 6 players over a 5 or 6 year span. That's crazy. But the interest generates revenue, the viewership generates revenue, the attendance generates revenue, so the money's there to pay the athletes. People may not like it, but here and also what else people don't understand is if someone signs a $100 million, let's do this most simple economics. If someone signs a 1-year, $100 million contract, they are not collecting $100 million. They're collecting, or 53% of that is being taken off of taxes. So they're already at $47 million. Oh, but here's the thing. Their agents wrote themselves a deal for 10 or 15% of the pre-tax gross. So there goes another 10 to 15 million dollars. So that $100 million is down to $23 million. And then you have to pay income tax on every city that you play in. You're paying taxes for, I mean, I think Andrew McCutcheon's pay stub got released on Twitter a couple of years ago. And the amount of taxes that were on there, just from playing in New York, Baltimore, back in New York again, Boston, just in some of the more highest taxes in the country was
California.
Exactly, California. I mean, those are absolutely ridiculous. So when you think about, oh, these guys are making so much money, really on the front end, they're signing these huge deals. On the back end, they're making $20 million a year, which is a lot of money for playing baseball. But hey, most people don't have the patience or the time to really think about the breakdown of what these financial numbers and contracts really mean. And maybe with that perspective in mind, it may give them a little bit more of an understanding where maybe the Players Association is coming in with their perceptions of what's fair in a collective bargaining agreement. Because the owners, when they sign these lucrative deals, it's all covered under the Major League Baseball property of the New York Yankees organization. It's not individual taxes, so it's not felt as much individually as it is maybe through the Yankees organization. But because the Yankees have a lot more avenues to generate revenue than players do outside of endorsement deals and what have you, it doesn't hurt as much, the amount of taxes that the team has to pay as opposed to the players themselves. So in that respect, I can appreciate the Players Association's position a little bit more, I think.
See, I keep forgetting about that 3-letter word that nobody ever likes to say and fewer people like to experience. It's called tax. Now, if you do play in Texas or some states that do not, like Florida, that do not have a state income tax, that does not mean that you are exempt from paying it in other states.
That's right. And you're paying it on a per diem basis too.
Yeah.
Which, ridiculously enough, because these people are making a ridiculous amount, it comes out to like $105,000 a day.
Yeah.
To play in like New York.
Believable.
Yeah.
But see, thing about it is, it's like, and the people who sit back and say, they got to pay 53%. I don't feel so bad now about paying 37.
Yeah. No kidding, right?
Well,
perspective. I almost want to cut that clip up and put that out on the internet as here's a basic primer on how to understand basic economics in sports, you morons.
I thought you were continuing on that one.
No. That's all I had for that one.
Well, moving from one situation. See, here's the thing. This is what the other thing in particular and this is something that I was kind of like an elaboration on something I said a few minutes ago. At what point do we end up having to forfeit games? Because that sooner or later, once again, considering the fact these the players and the staff are going to either be taking buses or planes. God help us if they actually try to take a train or a subway. That ain't gonna damn well happen. I mean, I'm sorry. There's just
I don't know. Well, hold on. You say you don't think they're going to take a train. It's not unheard of, especially in the upper northeast, where there is a pretty robust transit system that can get players from New York to Philadelphia to, I don't know about Pittsburgh, but New York, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Boston. It's not without the realm of possibility to say the New York Yankees are going to charter a train that can be decontaminated before they get on, when they leave New York, and then decontaminated before they head to New York. Not necessarily outside the realm of possibility. But again, because we're not dealing with cross-country travel, we're dealing with regional travel. Now, I'm terrible at East Coast geography, so I'll use what I'm familiar with, West Coast geography. You have, on the West Coast teams, you have Seattle, San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles, San Diego, Colorado, Texas, Houston. With the exception of Texas, Houston, and Colorado, everything is a reasonable, I would say, on a bus going down I-5, you probably get from San Francisco to LA in about 7 hours.
right.
So there's your off day. Have fun with that. And then you're doing the 12:35 rubber match getaway day. Get on the bus at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, sit on the 405 for 4 hours before you can even get out of LA, and you get back into San Francisco at 2 o'clock in the morning for a 7:15 or a 12:15 tilt against the A's. That would kind of suck. But most stadiums are within a reasonable drive on a bus. So I don't think you have to expose too many players to too many plane flights. Seattle may also be the other exception to the rule because you're going through 2 states. That's a long-ass drive. I think that's probably like 13 hours on a bus. So, yeah, you may be flying out to Seattle, Colorado, Texas, Houston, but within that little California zone, everything great. Leave the driving to us, Greyhound. Woohoo!
Yeah, just don't leave the. Oh, I was about to make a really tacky, really bad, tasteless, horrible joke and use it for a segue. I've been doing some reading around, watching some things that have been progressing and going on, and of course, the situation down at the Performance Center where you have had multiple people test positive. Everybody from Adam Pearce to Caleb Braxton once again, Renee Young, which. Sorry about that, AEW. Sorry about that, Mox. And you've got people, who work behind the scenes, in-ring talent, all have different people. I think they said the word dozens have tested positive. And this was something that I was wondering about when they started letting friends and family in. This is also something that I wonder about when you've got a scenario in play where, look, let's rip the damn curtain down for a hot second. I can Velcro it back up. How easy, based on the companies you've worked with, Ted, and I'll give my answer in a minute. How easy is it to keep everybody separated to the point where they actually are the people who are working on individual matches and not let everybody coag or group up together, handshake, high five, kiss babies, shake, all of the above, run for political office when they're back in the locker room areas? How easy is it to keep everybody separated?
I mean, it wouldn't be that hard if you actually had people enforcing things. Rather than, here, let me take your temperature, fill out a questionnaire, and then go mingle. This is a romper room back in the 1980s, Vince. And I mean, you have to put a lot of the blame on the people that got infected. What, they put themselves in a situation. Did they proactively take any steps to make sure that they weren't infected? Did they go get independent testing? I mean, we don't know. So I'm not gonna say for sure it's someone's fault, but there are questions to be asked. Who really is responsible for it? Is it one outside influence that may have been irresponsible and caught it at a house party? Was it one of the friends and family, which again was one of the not the smartest idea to just let random people in without screening them. It's a shame that it finally took this for them to step up their wellness policy and start actually testing for COVID instead of just taking your temperature and saying, "Here, do you want to take a survey?"
Yeah, that liability waiver is such a beautiful thing.
That liability waiver is less than it's worth less than the paper it's printed on.
9 times out of 10, that's true.
Mm-hmm. I've signed enough to know.
Say it again.
I've signed enough of them to know.
Ditto that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, letting some of the diehard fans from that area come in, granted, and what is the easy way to say this? I don't know, and that I'm never going to find the easy way to say something. If one person sneezes, kind of like that old toilet paper joke, why is everybody hoarding toilet paper? Easy. One person sneezes, 12 crap their pants. And it was funnier back then too. But you've got a scenario in play where that 6-foot thing doesn't always work. I'm sorry, when I have had a sneeze before that I'm on one side of the room and I ruffle the curtains on the other, and that's more than 6 feet. I'm sorry. So,
see, I usually have that happen to me, but it comes out the other end.
Now, I know that AEW's got Fyter Fest coming up, and apparently the only thing that I'm going to do is speculate at this point, because we don't know how long Mox had been worried about, or exactly when Renee Young did test positive, how long she'd had it when she tested positive. So I imagine that, and I felt bad. I mean, this is one of those cases where you look at her social media feed and go, "Aw," in a sincere way. Show gets canceled, I get COVID. It's been a hell of a week. It's like, damn. And I actually like that show too. But I just think that this whole scenario, and it's like, and AEW's not any better right now, because when you see everybody clumped together against the guardrail, and then of course you had a lumberjack match last night to lead things off on Dynamite, which was actually pretty good. I like Luchasaurus and Wardlow against each other, but there were a couple of spots or a couple of moments during that match where both of them lumbered. I mean, no, they're not going to be able to go 90-0 throughout the entire match. I get that. I understand it. Trust me, this is pro wrestling. We've met. But there also is a point where if you know that you're starting to slow just a hair, snatch a rest hold. Why not? Wear down an opponent. Take it outside. Do something off, post them. And then roll back in the ring and let the lumberjack, throw the babyface on the babyface side and let the lumberjacks over there, "Oh, man, we got your back. You're okay." Or throw the heel over to the other side. That way you can catch a quick breather. I'm sorry, am I pulling back the curtain again way too far, Ted?
No, I mean that's wrestling 101. It's when you think you're going too fast, slow down. If you don't think you're going fast enough, slow down. And that ironically was when I was stupid enough to step foot in the ring and try to train. Was always the spot where I would just completely blank. So it was, you do your big spot, boom, boom, boom. You hit you shoulder tackle and whatever, and then to pin 1-2 kick out. And then, instead of grabbing a rest hold or, putting the boots or something, I would be like deer in the headlights. And you could literally hear the crickets chirping. It was crazy. But no. And I think a lot of it comes, too, is that of these guys, most of their experience is coming from the independents, where it's high spot after high spot after high spot after go, 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 go. And they either weren't taught pacing in a match, they weren't paying attention when they were taught pacing in a match, or whoever taught them how to pace themselves in a match was a crappy trainer. So I think one of those three things apply. But it's the one thing that separates AEW from WWE, as where WWE performers are polished to where they'll botch occasionally. You see it's a little bit more glaring on an AEW performer that hasn't fully had that seasoning, like a Jericho or like a Dustin Reynolds, Cody Rhodes, Pac. You go through the guys that have had that experience. You don't necessarily have those kind of comments, but when you talk about Luchasaurus, I'll even throw out Jungle Boy, Best Friends, Orange Cassidy. A lot of these guys, they have those moments where they almost have that deer in the headlight look, and they're trying to figure out what the problem is. Is it I'm going too fast or what? And you can see it almost take a second for it to click. So I think it's a little bit of the inexperience factor on some of these lower to lower mid card talents that are opening the show all the way up through the first half of the program, that are a little bit more glaring, and they're a little bit more noticeable because they haven't had as much polish time as performance over in the E.
Agree, 100%. By the way, Kayla Braxton, I feel bad for her because she revealed that she is now tested positive for a second time for coronavirus. This is her second positive test. First time was back in March. Remember when a lot of people were trying to speculate about who might have had it, and I'm the one who sat back and said it was probably Kayla? Yeah, here we go again. Poor girl. I mean, I'm sorry. I feel bad. Nobody should have to deal with it once, but twice? Of course, see, this is something that I discussed last night, and I want to bring you into play on this. The coronavirus itself responds, or different people with different physiologies respond differently to the virus itself. And this is something where some people may only get a sniffle. Other people are going to be in bed for 2 weeks. Others are going to be on a ventilator. Others are going to get up and go run a marathon in 24 hours. I mean, and this is something that nobody can really project. You can sit back and say age, pre-existing conditions, weight, personal habits, i.e. smoking. These all come into play for each and every person. But by the same token, it's a case of two people with the exact same physiology, but the DNA is different. And so therefore, one who may not have a condition, or may have a condition that even they don't know about, would be basically, oh God, what was the word I was looking for? I just blanked it. It's not expurgated, exploited by the virus. Whereas once again, the person on the other side of the board, they contract the virus. They don't have that internal condition that the other person does, and they barely get a sniffle. So this is something that I look at, when we're talking about sports entertainment and sports. And the overall scenario in play is like, look, I've said it before. I'll say it one more time. And Ted, if you have a varying opinion, you're more than welcome to it, brother, because I know different people have different perspectives on this. I'm not saying everybody go out and buy an N100 particulate mask or a regulator. I'm just saying play it smart. About a month ago when the numbers were starting to drop nationwide, I'm the one who said, this is the time to double down and continue to be responsible and play it safe, not just go out and go, 100 people on a trampoline bouncing up and down. And I hate to sound holier than thou when I say it like that, but I'm the one I look out for people. And do I believe that legislators, so-called, should put ordinances in play to where people should have to wear a mask? No. I believe people should do the smartest thing for them personally, while at the same time be respectful to those that they are around. Tedrick?
Yeah, I think you're right about it. I mean, it all comes down to common sense. A lot of people don't have them. Most of those people shop at Walmart. Be smart. Just, if you feel the need to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't feel the need to wear a mask, don't cough on people. Cover your schlitz. No one wants to see that anyway. It's just common decency. Increase your bathing habits. Sanitation is a wonderful thing, especially that modern plumbing thing that just came around. Always nice to have that water that flows into your house and then right back out again. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this stuff ad nauseum over and over again. How people can protect themselves and everything. If you haven't read the news, been on the internet, seen the TV, gotten text messages on your phone about how to be safe from COVID by now, chances are you should be mandatorily locked into your house because you're too stupid to function in society. And that's not a ha-ha thing for me. That's a straight shoot. There are just too many people walking around right now who are just too damn stupid to function in basic society and think that they're almighty and all-powerful and they don't have to do what anyone says because whatever. And it puts people at risk. That's why, I still limit my exposure. I've gone out and done a couple of things socially, but I'm very smart about it. I limit my exposure. As far as I know, I haven't gotten COVID. I can't tell if my hair's fallen out yet because I just shaved it, but hopefully it doesn't grow back. Maybe that's a symptom of COVID. I'll go bald permanently. Again, it's common sense, and that's all I can say about it.
I'm a little bit reticent about, before I hit the 800-pound gorilla that's been running through the world of pro wrestling and sports entertainment, which we are going to hit. And yes, I know that it is 22 minutes before the top of the 9 o'clock hour in the Central Time Zone. In other words, 8:38. I mentioned this one last night. I wanted to get Ted's input on it. Sasha Banks, I have to love the troll that she put out on everybody when she called herself and Bayley best tag team ever. And people bit on it. Now, the one that popped me the most is one that she screwed up because somebody brought up the Rock and Roll Express. And Banks came back and said, "We're even better than the Rock in Express." You forgot the roll, dear. Oh, no, that's what you did to everybody when you made the original post. You rolled everybody. Yep. Nicely done.
She was on the roll.
Uh-huh. But I think it's cool every once in a while when somebody can actually make a comment like that they know is going to rattle some cages, but not, and it does it in a good way. But do you notice how quickly some people are like, "Oh, no, you're not," and they don't see the humor in the comment?
See previous comment about people being too stupid to function in general society. That also applies to about 48.6% of all social media users in general.
No, it just applies to 100% of social media.
I'm trying to be the kinder, gentler voice.
Well,
here.
I've started moving a lot of my stuff over to MeWe, a company that prides itself on privacy. And yes, I know that they actually have a premium plan that you can buy. I'm not going to. But they say that they don't sell your information. They don't hand it out, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm going to give them a shot and see what happens. Because there is some content that I will put on MeWe and some that I'll continue to put on other forms of social media. And yes, that is actually me on Snapchat, on my Snapchat a little bit more often over the last 2 weeks. Um, let's tackle it real quick because I know that you said you've got a bug at the top of the hour, and unfortunately, Shane's not able to make it in this evening. And um, I went a little long-winded, so I'm going to get out of the way, and I'm referring to I want to get Ted's take on the situation with hashtag speaking out and all of the different things that have been said by different people, points of illumination, so to speak. But Tedrick, you've been keeping track a little bit. Where are you at on it?
Well, I mean, as we were talking about off air before we started the show, this is basically the professional wrestling's industry version of the Speak Out movement in Hollywood, or whatever the movement. Too many head injuries. I don't remember what the movement was, but whatever that movement was, that's what this is now. Just a different industry, and having been in locker rooms, having gone out to parties with the boys and the girls, having seen things happen. Um, Look, professional wrestling is not the cleanest industry backstage in the world. Um, and things do happen that are untoward. Now, whether they're comments that are made out of in bad taste, ranging to actual physical acts of violence of any assorted measure. Um, and this, I mean, this, and it seems this stuff happens to take place more in entertainment industry than your regular private sector 9 to 5 Joers out there. All these celebrities and all of these athletes that are, going to clubs and doing horrible things to women and other people that don't follow the social norm as it was 10 years ago. These parasites on society are the ones that are basically lecturing us about how we're doing so many things wrong. It's almost comical, but when you've been in an industry and you've seen some of the things that are being spoken about, it definitely makes you think. And I've worked with some of the people that have been speculated against. I won't name names, and because I mean that they weren't like long-term gigs where I was in a program with someone. It would just happen to be on a show that I was working once or twice, so I would meet them in passing. So I'm not qualified to speak on anyone's behalf or about anyone's accusation. But the people that have been out there, like the Joey Ryan with the penis suplex and the things that he's been doing, which I felt was completely inappropriate and degraded professional wrestling. And then when he started doing it in intergender matches, that's basically when I was through with him. I think Joey Ryan's career should have ended a long time ago, just after he started doing that ridiculous nonsense. And the justification is, oh, well, it got a pop. Well, who cares if it got a pop? It's and who cares if the person that you're in the ring with was willing to do it? It sends signals to people that may have experienced a sexual trauma or a physical trauma, an abusive relationship, something that may set off some sort of mental trigger, which will put that person in a downward spiral, and it will do a lot more harm than you realize, just because you're doing something incredibly insensitive for a pop. Think about that for a second. You're doing something in a public avenue that is offensive to a large majority of the people, and you like it because you get a reaction out of it. That is not a professional. That is a juvenile child. That's what a 3-year-old does. Now, talking about the situation where Sammy Guevara got suspended by AEW indefinitely for highly inappropriate and highly insensitive comments that he made about Sasha Banks, which I will not repeat because they were that reprehensible. Um, Granted, it was 4 years ago. Again, it was a different culture even 4 years ago than it is today. But folks, what I think you need to realize is that this is now the age of accountability. And you remember back when you were in elementary school and people kept saying, "That's going to end up on your permanent record." And you kept saying, "What permanent record?" Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you your permanent frickin' record. Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat to an extent for 15 seconds, Instagram. Everything that you put out on social media is becoming your permanent record. So when you say stupid things, when you do interviews with people and you say stupid things, when you do stupid things that are caught on video, guess what? It's going to come back and it's going to catch you, because we are now in the age where it doesn't matter how long ago the transgression happened. It doesn't matter what era the transgression happened. Even if it happened 30 years ago, it's not acceptable in today's society. So whatever you did 30 years ago, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Now you're going to pay for it. That's kind of what's happening here with Sammy Guevara, and I'm not defending that. I just wanted to use that as a setup. What he said was beyond vile. And I understand that him and Sasha Banks had a conversation. Sasha tweeted about it. And the point that you brought Eddie, is that Sasha never said that she forgave Sammy. And we don't know if she actually did or not. And to be honest, if she didn't, I think that she would fully be within her rights not to. Because, as I've gotten older and as I've become a father to now a 13-year-old daughter, things that I would never have been stupid enough to put out on social media back when I was in my 20s. But a lot of the stupid things that I have said, whether sober or under the influence, thankfully, those aren't recorded. Most of those aren't remembered because most everybody that I said those around were pretty messed up themselves. I'm very careful with not only what I put on my social media, but what my daughter and how she interacts on social media. And I would be horrified if she stumbled across that and had to ask me about that. I don't know if, as a father, I would be able to respond to that. So I want to commend Sasha for I'm struggling for the correct word here. The most gracious way she handled it within her tolerance. Again, that's a horrible way to say what I'm trying to express, but I mean, I appreciate the fact that she made the statement, they had the conversation, she did not mention the apology, and maybe Sammy has learned from it, counseling, whatever, I'm all for that. But again, it comes down to accountability. Your locker room leaders, if you see this stuff happening in your locker room, it is incumbent upon you to put a stop to it. Whether you get personally involved with it, whether you go to the promoter, make it involved with it, if you go to the person who's being victimized and let them know that you're on their side, that you're aware of it, that you have your back, that's what makes you a locker room leader. It's your job to police your locker room and to make sure that these jerkholes aren't coming in to your locker room and doing these reprehensible things and keeping their mouths professional and not saying crude and inappropriate comments in mixed company. Folks, look, I'm not the most politically correct person walking the face of the earth. But as I've gotten older, I've developed a sense of common sense. There are certain things you say in certain situations. There are certain things you do in certain situations. And there are certain things that no matter what circumstance you're in, you do not do and you do not say. And if you hear something, it is incumbent upon you to speak out about it. Now, Where the danger part comes in is all of this stuff being regurgitated out onto social media, where one accusation can turn into an influx of accusation, which turns into an influx of rumor and innuendo. And he says, and she says, and what about this? And what about that? Well, in third grade, he spilled milk on the carpet. It opens up a Pandora's box of things that absolutely clouds the issue. So if you're going to digest this stuff off the social media and pay attention to it, just think real hard before you reach out and make a snide comment or a snide tweet or even interact in something that realistically is not your business. And the only reason you're being told about this is because someone feels threatened enough to where they need to speak out and put it out on social media. It's an unfortunate situation. I hope that the guilty get what they deserve. I hope the innocent, and I do believe that there are people that have been accused that may be innocent, because I believe in human nature, and human nature is when somebody is making an accusation, somebody who either wants attention or wants money is going to jump on and make a follow-up accusation because they want their 15 minutes of fame. That could be happening here. So again, just be cautious on how you interact on social media. Respect these people's privacy to the extent that you don't need to be sending them @messages. You don't need to be blowing up their DMs with threats and stupid comments. Let these accusations play out with the police, with the courts, wherever they need to play out, but please don't add fuel to the fire.
Yeah, one thing that I personally can't stand is the dogpiling that I'm seeing. There's two things that are taking place during the hashtag speaking out situation. Number one, some people are using that hashtag to simply talk about a beef they've got with somebody. Mm-hmm. Don't do that.
Nope.
You're diluting the premise and the purpose. You got a beef with somebody, pick another hashtag. They're a dumbass. Hashtag, yeah. Hashtag, here's a dumbass. Use that. But don't use, just because you've had a disagreement with somebody and you want to try to blow it up into more than it really is. I'm just going to be a jackass and say, be adult about it. Number two, the dogpiling factor. It takes a lot of courage for somebody to come out and talk about some of the things that they've been through. Mm-hmm. And I understand that the basic urge for some people, well, I'm going to go over and give them a piece of my mind, let them know that they didn't do, it's not going to do any good. When person A talks about what person B did, don't go over to person's B social media and you're a dirty piece of fecal matter. It's not going to do any good because you don't have a your fanhood does not give you a vested interest. Believe it. Sometimes it does more harm than good because when people dogpile, you're giving party B, the person who did this, ammunition, yes, you're going to hear me say this, to come back on you and party A. Online cyber stalking, online bullying. It exists, it's real. And trust me, more and more law enforcement agencies are looking at this because of the number of people who have, look, you've heard me say it 100 times, so I'm not going to say it again. But there are people out there who battle with depression even more so than me. There, I kind of halfway said it. And the online bullying does not help a person's self-image when it's already as low as they can handle it. I'm not justifying that. I'm not justifying party B in that realm. I'm saying that there are other people in this world, when you start dogpiling and online bullying to get your point across that you're offended on behalf of party A for what party B did, other people see this, there may be another party A who shuts up because, well, I don't want anybody to go through that just because of me and what that other person did. But we live in that culture now. They did this to party A. I'm going to go kick party B's ass online. I'm going to tweet my displeasure. Thank you, Hunter, for the line, by the way. You don't have to. Be supportive of party A more so than being spiteful toward party B, because believe me, party A needs your support and appreciates your support more. Ted, agree or disagree?
I agree. And on an aside, all this party A, party B stuff made me feel like I was at a blind tasting for Coke versus Pepsi.
In that case, Coke is party A and Pepsi is party B
because
because Coca-Cola was the one who changed their formula. Coca-Cola, a company, and the kids looked this up under New Coke. Coca-Cola, a company that owned 99.4% of the soft drink market, changed their damn flavor to taste like Pepsi, which only had 0.6%. And not even that, actually. I think Shasta had a good percentage of that.
Don't forget about RC Cola.
Oh, no. Can't forget about RC Cola, especially around Mardi Gras. RC Cola and moon pies. Thank you for pulling me out of that, Ted. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
But as we are getting ready to go to the top of the hour, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and sit back and say, Ted Guinness, last call, brother.
I got nothing. I think this has been probably the most me-focused centric episode of Shooter's Gallery that we've had, and that's because Shane or Phil wasn't here to reel me in. So I've said enough. Your Honor, the defense rests our case. We throw ourselves upon the mercy of the court.
For me personally, I make a reference to getting back out in the public eye, and I'm appreciative of every opportunity. There is a line that I'm going to start using. Actually, I have it as a soundbite. But unfortunately, the program did not load properly, and the soundbite did not load, so I'm not going to worry about it until next week. However, this weekend I'm actually double billed because I will be DJing a party on Saturday night and as a photographer for an event on Saturday afternoon. So normally I would go through the yes, I accept bookings through Full Range Entertainment. I don't check Full Range Entertainment at yahoo.com nearly as much as I should, and I apologize for that. Find me facebook.com/FastStudyLane. That's the easy way. That is the professional page. I don't give out my personal. If you stumble across my personal and you send me a friend request, if I don't know you, I'm not going to accept it. I'm sorry. It's my page, my rules on that one. Just like it's your page, your rules. So birthday party, wedding reception, special event coming up. Shoot me a line. Let me know. I'll be more than happy to sit down with you and we can work out details. Would love and would be an honor to be a part of your next special occasion. Folks, don't forget Shooter's Gallery takes place almost every Thursday night, normally 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 Central. This week we bumped it up a few minutes. Shane, hope you're having a good time in undisclosed location. Folks, remember you can find us all the way through BeyondRingside.com, ProWrestlingRadio.net, at Beyond Ringside on Twitter, Facebook.com/BeyondRingside Live. For me personally, FastStudyLane, LAYNE.com is my home. And we going ahead for the Radio Ranch. Until next time, for Shane Knowles, see you next week. For the voice, the scribe, Ted Guinness.
I got nothing.
Say goodnight, Ted.
Good night, Ted.
There you go. I'm the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Study Lane, so you can join us right here next time on the Shooter's Gallery on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network. Bye for now.